Hello, and welcome back to the Gimme Holy Wrestling podcast. We are here for Friday Night Smackdown, the return of John Cena, December 30th, 2022. We'll recap Christmas, we'll go into New Year, we'll introduce you to Andy from Rush on Rock. We've got loads and loads of stuff for you guys coming up. I should have queued this up before. I didn't do it. I'm so unprofessional. Who do we want to introduce us? Let's go with the classic. Let's go with Foley.
This is the hardcore legend, Mick Foley. Well, hello and welcome to Give Me a Oh Yeah. I hope everyone there, right there in Yorkshire, is having a nice day. Bang, bang. Have a nice day. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's Mick with an intro for you. Guys, hopefully doing all right, whether you're coming back to us after this or you're with us right now. We appreciate it. We'll go to some comments in a bit. First off, though, Andy is my special guest this evening. Andy, how are you, mate? So for a little bit of context, before I let him finish his sentence, because I'm so excited to have him here. I haven't even let him talk yet. We met on the Clash of the Castle media stuff. He has a fantastic music and wrestling site called Rush on Rock. But I'll let you carry on. So, Andy, for the people that haven't met you yet, who are you and what do you do, please?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm going to probably sound really calm compared to your very high energy at nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, which is amazing.
It doesn't carry on, mate. It doesn't carry on. Like when we're going through it, you'll see my eyes drop. But yeah.
So basically, thank you for having me on the show. And as you said, I'm from a website called rushonrock.com. So our little kind of bubble, I guess, is the kind of rock and wrestling connection, predominantly rock. But for myself, I'm the chief wrestling editor. All the wrestling stuff you see on there will go through myself. I had the pleasure of meeting you at the Clash at the Castle in Cardiff. And as I was just saying before, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you when we were there. It was really cool to get to know you and a few of the other guys and girls that were there as well. So basically I'm really excited to be joining you. We did talk about we would do something. I'm glad we're doing it before the end of the year. I'm sure this hopefully won't be the last time as long as I'm invited back. We'll go through a few of the things. You might see if you want to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Sporsy19. I've just posted my first half of best WWE matches of 2022. So big feature there.
Yeah, awesome. So I've just posted a link to the Russian Rock website in the comments. So that obviously we are on Twitch, we're on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, I will also put Andy's Twitter in the comments for you guys now. So please go and support Andy, go and support Rush on Rock. It's a fantastic platform. Obviously, again, with that music, very similar to Soundsphere, we have that kind of music and wrestling connection. But what they do, what Rush on Rock do is so, the site looks amazing. The content is, there's some stuff in there for people that love, that love wrestling features, opinion pieces, all that kind of stuff. So much more deep dive, really, really quality content that people can really, kind of get something from. Obviously, I going back to your Clash of the Castle rap and stuff. How much do you enjoy? How much just kind of, I guess it'd be interesting for people to know. How did you get into wrestling journalism? Like, Andy, what was that like for you when you kind of got started in that? What was it that made you want to put wrestling on Rush on Rock and, blend music and wrestling in that way?
So my degree is in journalism, I do enjoy writing, and wrestling has been like a passion. And I think when I was younger, I got into wrestling. I don't know if anyone remembers them. They used to do these things in the UK, just in case anyone else is watching from further afield, where they used to have shows where it was like basically knock off The Rock, and they would be called like they'd slightly spell it differently, or you'd have like a really fake Kane or Undertaker. And they used to just do like old hospital halls or like bingo halls in the UK. So I got into it from that aspect. And then basically I've loved it since then. Very much WWE. I try and keep it with everything else, especially AEW. You'll never find me kind of knocking it because I think they do a lot of good things, but I really love NXT, WWE, NXT UK when that was a thing. And to put the two together, I started writing for it was actually a group of festivals called Hard Rock Hell festivals, which were so they were kind of designed that they could have out of season caravan parks. So you don't have to go camping in the mud or anything like that. You could you go in the caravans or the chalets or whatever. So me and a team of 3 others put together a magazine that each person who would go would get it. And for me personally, since the days of like Limp Bizkit, WrestleMania 17, that promo, rock and wrestling is like, I think encapsulates each other really well. They kind of work off each other. They always have done. I think they always will do. So I basically just went, hey, how about we put some wrestling stuff in, see how it does. It did pretty well. And then I ended up kind of going to WrestleMania and meeting Joel and the team at WWE, and we formed a relationship from there. So ever since then, it moved on to the website.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, congratulations on all the work you've done. Again, mixing music and wrestling almost perfectly, I would say. Certainly since I met you, Soundsphere's taken a lot of inspiration from the way that you've worked, because initially I was kind of I was sort of skeptical, because I was a wrestling fan like yourself, and I was like, well, how can I mix wrestling and music? And certainly was able to do that. But meeting you was a kind of a testament to that it can really work very well. So it kind of actually meeting you, Andy, really inspired. It has inspired me to carry on doing the wrestling stuff, launch the Wrestling Sphere next year and keep it up, because I was kind of, again, I was like, oh man, does this work? Because everyone, like you say, you had Cultaholic there, you had a lot of wrestling, pure wrestling organizations, and then there was us doing the music stuff, and it was like, yeah, cool, this can work. You know what I mean? So I got a lot of inspiration, mate.
Man, you're absolutely killing it as well. I think even from there, I think the access that we got, and you've taken that and you've run with it, and you just like going strength to strength. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what January brings to the new venture as well.
Yeah, man, we got a site launch. Like I say, we're looking for content. So if anybody wants to get involved, you can follow the WrestleSphere on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. We are looking for people, and we'll be plugging that as much as possible. Obviously, we will have Andy involved. We're just about to get kicking off with SmackDown, but like I say, for the people that are wondering who this is Andy. He is my special guest this evening. So we actually have, Dan does your Monday Night Raw, Anthony does your Wednesdays, and myself and Sam typically do SmackDowns, but Andy is here as a special guest tonight because I wanted to have him on. We've talked about it for a long time, and obviously it's a great excuse to plug Rush on Rock and what he does. So we'll be doing that all through this stream as we are kicking off SmackDown. Andy, I guess the first question for you, mate, having you on here, are you excited about John Cena? Are you looking forward to the Doctor of Thugonomics returning to SmackDown?
I am so excited. I'm pretty much a Cena mark. When it used to be The Rock and John Cena's WrestleMania matches, I was such a Cena mark. I was in the pub watching it, and I was the only one going for Cena. So I'm always happy to see him back.
Yeah,
always.
Man. Yeah, it's great. It's like I say, it's wonderful since we started doing this and just connected everybody up. I love it. Oh yeah, so we're getting a recap of what's happening tonight. John Cena, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn. Dream teams, Andy, tonight. The Wyatt screen. The Wyatt screen just flickered. Oh man, we're getting Bray Wyatt first. Andy knows me well enough to know I'm a huge Wyatt fan, so I'm excited about this. So we'll make sure you all know what's happening. We're going to put Bray Wyatt in that bottom line, that code orange theme. Kicking us off on SmackDown. Wow, what a start, Andy.
I'm just happy to keep quiet because I know how much it means to you. So as soon as I saw that sting, I was like, I'm just gonna let Dom go.
Oh man, no, dude. When he gets in the ring, I'll be super quiet. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen you since, and we spoke briefly about it. How was that return for you? Because I've debated this a lot. A lot of people are saying that it's taken too long for him to get going with the storyline. A lot of people are saying we've got to wait for it, be patient. How are you feeling about Bray Wyatt's return so far?
I can completely see both points that you've kind of raised there. I think the night of his return was perfect. I don't think they could have done it any better than they did. I think LA Knight is a really interesting person, a superstar to kind of pick.
He's amazing, isn't he?
the foil, the kind of work between the two of them. I really enjoyed what LA Knight kind of became in NXT. He's got that really old school promo. So it kind of picking that someone who can hold themselves in a promo against the kind of weirdness and the tangents that goes on with Bray Wyatt. I like it. I get why people are kind of a bit hesitant to say, well, why has he not had a match? What, like, where is this actually kind of leading? I'm personally of the opinion, let Bray Wyatt do what he's got to do to tell the story he wants to tell. And that's really important for me. I think he shouldn't have a match until Rumble now. I would stretch it out now.
Yeah, you stretch it out?
Yeah,
nice.
Definitely. I don't see the point. He has to be one of these kind of marquee, like you don't get to see him very often, kind of how Gunther when he was Walter was. They used to bring him out for special occasions, kind of like Brock Lesnar is. Like, I don't think we need burnout. I do agree with what you said last week when you said about giving him maybe a couple of weeks where he's maybe not so prominent, that LA Knight fill that gap and build it from there.
Yeah, no, I think LA Knight is, I think he's being elevated a lot by this feud and he deserves it. He reminds me a lot of The Rock, reminds me a lot of the LA Knight has that charisma and I love, I love this feud. I love the potential, but I am impatient, Andy. That's the thing. We grew up sort of the attention economy. We've talked about this a lot. People, we want everything now. You know what I mean? So I have to really fight. I know what you're saying. You want that long-term storytelling. You know what I mean? But I've had to really fight my urges because I love Bray, most inventive, storyteller for decades. But yeah, I want him to do something. I want him to have a match. But he did have a match at MSG. He was on the tour, wasn't he? So, so I don't know. Maybe I just need to be more patient. But everything about the presentation, the Code Orange theme, the lantern, the fireflies, it's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't think they could have made it any better.
Yeah, and I was just seeing a recap of him attacking the cameraman at the moment, which again was kind of cool because it showed like something a little bit different. Shows kind of unhinged he is. Adam Pearce doing his thing where he's getting involved.
I always shout out. I want to shout out to a great independent wrestler. That cameraman is a guy called JT Energy. He's an independent wrestler on the US scene who's been doing some great work over the last few years on AEW and I think some enhancement talent on Raw as well. So a great little moment for the cameraman there. But yeah, I think you might be about half a second ahead of me, but don't worry. We're on target. We're all good. Bray is in the ring. He's saying, "My name is Bray Wyatt." Doesn't think he's a good person.
Honestly, I don't regret much. However, last week I did something that I do.
Sorry, guys, I'm always a bit quiet when Bray comes on.
He's just explaining how he attacked the cameraman and maybe did something he did regret last week.
Apologizing to the cameraman.
Oh, business picking up with LA Knight coming out.
There he is. He's coming out. Yeah, thanks for covering that for me, Andy. I'm a couple of seconds behind you, so just keep us in the loop, and I will refresh my stream.
I'm going to pause mine for like 2 seconds to let it kind of like catch up with you. So we're on an even keel.
Well, I've just refreshed mine, and it's all respect to BT Sport, I have so many issues with this app, but there you go. I've refreshed now, so LA Knight is coming out here. He's not buying it, Andy. LA Knight is not buying any of this. Legend, it started now. Obviously, we unfortunately can't show you what's happening because we'd get banned from YouTube for doing that, but we will try and talk you through what's happening as best we can. LA Knight, yeah.
I love that he keeps calling him Captain Howdy. Like he just changes what he calls him each time.
Yeah. Captain. I guess it's Captain Howdy, amazing. LA Knight wants Bray Wyatt to pay the check. Yeah, I'm like I would say I'm still about 2 seconds behind you, maybe 3. I've just got to, you used to be a force, but this is good. This is good. What like LA Knight saying you used to be a force. He's confronting Bray. He's asking him why he's, but I see that's the problem, Andy. This is the problem here. LA Knight comes across like the face here to me. You know, LA Knight comes across like the good guy in this feud.
Yeah, because I think he's kind of stuck with anyone who goes up against Bray. Like, it's a difficult one because it's kind of like Bray has to lead what the personas are going, you know, what kind of gimmicks are going to take on here. Because if he, I don't really see Bray Wyatt as anything other than a face because he's so over. It's really difficult for him to kind of like change into a full heel. So like, I don't know if they're just kind of switching between the two and just getting reactions rather than actually kind of sticking with the rigid heel versus face.
Yeah. Bray Wyatt has always been more of a tweener, I think. So LA Knight's going to break Bray's ass like dishes. I've never heard that before.
And he's just called LA Knight little idiot.
There you go. Call him an idiot. Oh, who do you think you're talking to, son? Bray says he could have ended this feud anytime he wanted. Hi, Joan. Bray's going to be, he says he wants to be cruel. He's going to be cruel with LA Knight. Going to remind the world how cruel he can be.
Oh, okay. I know I'm a couple of seconds ahead, but it seems like a Royal Rumble challenge has been issued.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, so I've just said, oh, yeah, we've just had the glitch. What are the glitch are we getting, Howdy? Revel in what you are. Bray and LA Knight in the ring. Uncle Howdy, we know now, is a separate entity. Embrace the darkness. Bray Wyatt and LA Knight.
So we're getting a Howdy entrance as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. They've obviously given this some time, Andy. Interesting. There he is.
So he's got his own theme tune as well.
He has. Wow, okay. I don't want him to be a wrestler. We'll talk about this in a second, me and you, Andy. We'll get your thoughts on Howdy. I love his entrance music. I love the look, but I don't want him to wrestle. I don't think this is, unless he's going to take off all that mask and stuff. I don't want Howdy to wrestle. But this is a cool entrance. Cool.
Almost kind of Jack the Ripper-esque.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, like a Demon Balor type thing. He's walking to the ring. Howdy's going to get in the ring, guys. No way. I better update that banner, right? We got Uncle Howdy coming out. So for those who don't know, Uncle Howdy is walking to the ring. We have Bray Wyatt and LA Knight in the ring now, waiting for Uncle Howdy.
He's taking his top hat off.
Yeah, again, I'll refresh my stream in a bit. I don't want to refresh. I don't want to miss anything. I'll refresh it once we finish this. But Andy will no pressure, Andy. Andy will keep you posted as best he can as well.
So I find it really interesting when like new gimmicks and new people are in as to how they actually like enter the ring, because it's such a little thing. But like, you know, you've got the kind of giants who step over the ring. He's gone upstairs, round to the side, to hard cam side, and slip through the ropes. Very kind of suave way of entering the ring.
What is going on? What is going on, man? This is so weird. Uncle Howdy looking at LA Knight. Uncle Howdy now looking at Bray Wyatt.
That's clever. They've made him the same height as Bray Wyatt. So if they ever do a swap for whatever reason, now they're standing side by side looking at LA Knight now.
Wow. Okay. This is
Oh,
interesting. What is going on here? Oh yeah. So the sister Abigail, I got it. Oh my God, I got it a little bit after Andy, but I've just seen that sister Abigail. A sister Abigail from Uncle Howdy to Bray Wyatt. No way.
LA Knight slipped out the ring and a dip in the audio because there's
LA
definitely some
Knight's
sort
getting
of
out of
swearing
there.
going on. Interesting,
What?
they're using the flash that they used to use for the Fiend when it was like
Yeah.
kind of white lights flashing across.
What is that? Whoa, man. What? Right, and right, we got some time now. That I thought that was ace, but I'm a fan now. I didn't want to see Uncle Howdy wrestle. I thought, how are they going to do it in the mask and all that stuff? What are your, you are here to give your insight, your valued insight, and obviously, I love having
Yeah.
your input here, dude. What are your thoughts?
Well,
What are your first instincts on Uncle Howdy as we get Sami Zayn walking backstage as well?
That was really cool. They needed to do something a little bit different, and I think that will give enough fuel to carry that on. As Sami Zayn knocks on the Bloodline door and cuddles Paul Heyman.
Nice. There you go. Nice little hug there. Yeah, really interesting. Is that Bo Dallas then? Is Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas, Andy? What are your thoughts on who it is?
I think that would be the easy guess, and it probably is the right one. I still think it's kind of one of at some point they'll pull a switcheroo where it actually is him, and it'll try and like mess with people's minds a little bit. Where there'll be another time where he takes the mask off and it is actually Bray.
Right, okay.
And it kind of answer those kind of questions. I think that's the direction they'll go. It would be interesting if they do keep them completely separate, and it was a bit of a like Bray Wyatt is actually bringing in people that he wants to work with as well as just himself.
Yeah, absolutely. If it can be a way to create jobs for Eric Rowan, for Bo Dallas, then I'm all for it. From Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor. But Dutch and Vincent, there we go. The Righteous from Ring of Honor. Yeah, there you go. So if we can create some job opportunities, that's fantastic. So I'll try to get to your comments in a bit, guys. We're seeing Sami and Paul Heyman still backstage.
So it seems like Heyman's kind of playing gatekeeper to the locker room here, and Sami's actually being kept out.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is kind of planting, I guess, seeds that all's not quite well. That Sami seems to be too over for his own good here.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so there's something going on there. There's something going on there where Sami isn't quite as in the bloodline, isn't quite as interjected as we perhaps thought he was. And if they're going, I don't know what you've read, Andy, but if they're going the direction that we've read about online, it's going to be quite a heartbreaking end, quite a heartbreaking few months for Sami Zayn coming up.
Yeah, I try. It's a difficult one. I do try and stay clear. And as you know, it's difficult when you're trying to be, writing and you try and do like bits and pieces for videos where you don't really kind of want to know other people's theories. And often if you kind of go down those kind of rabbit holes, you can get misled. I like to stick to my own opinions and theories and stuff. And it's a difficult one for me because I think Sami Zayn should be the one to beat Roman at WrestleMania.
It'd be amazing. Wouldn't that be? Would you cry? I might cry.
I'm actually going to LA and to see that live, and I think just having that, seeing that reaction, I think similar to when Daniel Bryan won it and the Miracle on Bourbon Street, or where we had that WrestleMania where Becky won and Seth won and Kofi won. That's the kind of reaction that they would get if they go down that way. But I think they've got a bigger fish to fry. So yes, I think it's probably tag teams in the long run.
Nice one, man. Nice one. Is the intention? Would you go anyway, or are you working press? Like, what's the score? Are you going for the love, or are you going for work?
Well, you go for the love, and anything else is great.
Yeah.
I've done Mania media before, and it is ridiculous. They, as always, look after you very well. It would be interesting to see what they do around LA as well. But yeah, very much hoping to get access. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'll do some stuff anyway while I'm there. So
that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing the same. I've not been to LA for a long time. I've got friends over there from my college days, so like I want to get back and see some people. But also, I've never been to a Mania. I've never done it, so it's on the bucket list. So
amazing. Well, why not combine the two? I'll be there.
Absolutely.
So,
man, well let's hang out. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll have a chat because I want to bring some of the podcast guys with me as well. Maybe my partner Emma too. So definitely something to think about over the next couple of weeks because those tickets will sell out pretty quickly. So I'm gonna get on that. I'm gonna make that decision. We have Dan Reed from Pro Wrestling Eve in. Welcome, Dan. Of course, a legend in the British wrestling scene for his booking of Eve. Of course, if you've not heard of Eve Right Girls Wrestling, go and give them a subscribe. They have events all over, events in the UK. I assume there's a big calendar coming up in the new year. Dan, if you've not met my esteemed colleague this evening, it's Andy Sport from Rush on Rock. So welcome, Andy, and welcome to Dan as well. We love your support. Thank you so much. There's 11 people in right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. It really helps our small channel to grow. Obviously, give us a like on the video as well. Helps with the algorithm. And Sassy will keep you up to date with what we've got going on the channel. There's merchandise. There's what else we got? We got merchandise. We got membership tiers. We got them all. We got everything. We're moving interviews. That's one thing that's changing. We're moving interviews over to the WrestleSphere. But there's loads of good stuff on the channel. Check it out. I'm not very good at the plugging. I just like talking about wrestling, you know.
Got to pay those bills though.
Yeah. Do you have this stuff, man? Like, because obviously, like with Rush on Rock, you've built this really credible brand now, and it looks real tight. Do you find it difficult doing the promo and plug-in, or is that something that has become natural to you?
So I've probably confused things a little bit on my end because I kind of have like Rush on Rock is the site, and then my kind of brand is Wrestling Royalty.
Nice.
Like we started a podcast like a few years ago, probably when everyone was doing a podcast, and then we kind of took a bit of a break because of COVID, and it just kind of went, down from there. My thing, I love writing features.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a kind of I spoke to like Kenny McIntosh, and he's like, the feature writing, it doesn't really kind of, as I said before, it doesn't really pay the bills, but I love it. It's such a kind of labor of love that when you put it out there and you're like, I just really hope someone takes like a stat or a line from it and they're like, I really like what he does. So a lot of the work for Rush and Rock is that. Wrestling Royalty, like we don't have any kind of merch or anything, but the plan is for next year is to really kind of like ramp that up. We've got a few interviews that will be coming up. They're quite big. So if they pull off, then I think you in particular will be very interested in a couple of the ones that we're speaking to, especially for a certain person's theme tune that I know you love is in the works.
Good. I spoke to those guys a few years back, and one of my favorite hardcore bands on the planet. And
they love wrestling as well. They're massive on it.
That's cool.
I know. Sorry, Smackdown's back on after the advertising break.
We'll talk about that in a second. I mean, obviously, Siko's in there, but Dan, we always welcome your viewpoint on here. Of course, he says, "I honestly struggle to imagine a worse place to go than WrestleMania for someone like me that doesn't like crowds." From what I understand, Andy, it is quite chaotic.
WrestleManias,
yeah.
Yes, it can be, but it also. So I've been to 3. I've been to Orlando, I went to New York, and I went to New Orleans. New Orleans was fantastic. It was just such a great atmosphere. Everyone's there for the same reason. Similar to Clash, I think you get like a little bit of the vibe of what you get. But everyone seems to be quite chilled out. Everyone's there to get as much wrestling as they possibly can. It is a bit chaotic, especially when the events are like so far apart in different places. Like I heard mixed reaction about Dallas or Arlington, whatever you want to call it. But WrestleMania, it's one of those things where if you ever have an opportunity as a wrestling fan to go, you have to go. Like it doesn't matter, like the kind of feedback that you get, even if you experience it once, it would be something you just have to cross off your bucket list. But I love it personally. I just love all the kind of stuff around it. I haven't been to one since it's been the 2 days, so that'll be interesting. And I've definitely heard mixed reviews of LA, so that'll be even more interesting. Throw that in.
Yeah. I've been to visit friends, but obviously this will be a different context. So you know what, dude? If I'm gonna go to one, I think it's gonna be LA. So hopefully I will be able to chill out together across the other side of the world. But yeah, but again, great to get your insight there for those people that have never been to a Mania to hear about it. UFC was bad enough at the O2. I'm Iron Maiden twice next year. I have zero patience, and I'm not a fan of people. I mean, you run a world-renowned wrestling promotion, Dan. But I get it. You don't have to be in the crowd. I suppose you can be backstage. So I understand. But yeah, right. Let's call this match. Hassan, Andy. I'm putting Andy on the spot. Is this debut on the Gimme All Yeah podcast? Andy's going to call the action as Sheamus is in control of Solo Sikoa. While I do your banner, I will do your banner. Give me a second. I'm on it, Hassan. Don't worry, it's coming. Just give me a second. I'll do it. So the banner's done. I just need to do the poll. That's right, the poll. So on YouTube, the poll will appear in a few short seconds as Andy will talk you through the action as it happens while I do that.
Cool. So, Solo Sikoa versus Sheamus. I'd imagine this is probably quite similar to some of the other matches that Sheamus is having. It's a bit of a slugfest as it is at the moment. The Bloodline's Enforcer versus the Celtic Warrior. Sheamus has actually just managed to get himself on top by knocking Sikoa out of the ring, who's now throwing a bit of a paddy with a steel chair.
Yeah.
While his brothers try and calm him down a little bit. It's quite interesting that the kind of transformation of Solo in the last few weeks. He definitely seems to be going down that route of Umaga a little bit more, where they're making him a bit more unhinged, and the way he's dressing is even similar now as well. So we have just gone to a break, so a nice little
homage. Nice little homage, rather, to Umaga, as you alluded to there, Andy. Obviously, a lot of respect on Umaga's name. Dan laughing and saying, yes, he's paid to be there. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thomas Fan is in. Hey, Thomas Fan, I'm excited for the main event. We all are, mate. It's going to be, again, John Cena's first time back in a year. I can't wait to see him. I loved Peacemaker. So, I've been watching John. I really enjoyed John Cena's turn on television. Obviously, he's had loads of movies out as well. But I'm excited to see him back in a wrestling ring, Thomas Fan, as I know that you are. Has Solo dropped to 4 yet? I mean, I'm assuming you mean taking a pin. No, I don't think he has. Has he? It's not to my knowledge, Andy. Shall we? I'll tell you what, I'll give that a Google and see if I can find out, because I don't want to be getting my facts wrong with Dan in the chat. Let's have a look. Taking a pin. Hang on.
I think he's taken like a DQ loss, but I can't think of him taking a.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, no, I don't think that he has taken a pinfall loss yet, Dan. Michaels is Umaga. Go on. Sorry, dude.
He's been pretty protected of the kind of call-ups, especially when, like, on NXT, he was really 50-50 booking to the point where, like, obviously he didn't really win anything until he won that random North American match where he then had to relinquish it straight away. So he's actually really done really well for himself on the main roster.
Interesting reflection there by Dan. I mean, Solo's look and way of acting presentation was way too close to the original Samoa Joe character. So getting away from that is a good idea. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's a way for them to again pay homage to Umaga by taking him away from those, maybe some of those similarities. But I do remember the original Samoa Joe kind of looking that way. Yeah, back in TNA. Interesting.
I think he does have to find his own lane, though, because it's a difficult one, because it is good to get him away from that, but at the same time, if he goes too far down this Umaga route, then he's kind of it becomes less of a homage, more of a carbon copy. And I think if he can find that middle lane between the two, where he's kind of like a cool, silent, strong, but he can be like unhinged at the same time, then that's his route, because none of the other Bloodline are like that. So he does need to find that middle lane, I think. But he's doing well.
Interesting. I like him as the strong, silent bodyguard, where everyone else is cracking up because of Sami Zayn being Ucey, and then Solo Sikoa just remaining most of the time to stay stone-faced. I do appreciate his ability to do that, Andy.
Yeah, I think I've seen like a video where it was like, those like kind of clickbait YouTube ones where it was like Solo finally breaks, and it was like the smallest of smirks.
Yeah,
so, even then it was like, it's nothing really.
No,
it's cool.
No, he did. He's been doing a cracking job, as he is now in control of Sheamus. Now, Andy, what would you do here? Because I mean, you got to believe Cena is winning the main event. The faces are winning that main event. Cena's return. So you got to presumably you got to have Solo Sikoa go over here to sort of to keep that dominance for the Bloodline and Solo Sikoa on a wider level.
Yeah, I think Sheamus is at the kind of stage of his career where like wins and losses don't mean an awful lot. So I think it, like, if anything, it would be better for Solo to get a win here. But yeah, I think you're right. Like if Cena and Owens go over later, which I would say is possible, more probable, then yeah, he has to win here. Be a bit of a shock unless they do kind of play it as this has been a bad night for the Bloodline. Like, will this kind of seep through to the next year as it's the last one of the year? Then maybe they go down that route. So was interested to see which way they play it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a shame. It's nice back and forth from what I've seen so far. Obviously, we had a chance at Costa Castle to talk to Butch, Pete Dunne, obviously, and other members of the Brawling Brutes were around as well. Brawling Brutes, Andy, since we last spoke, they seem to have really come along from their origins. The Brawling Brutes seem to really be doing good work now. They started as a bit of a, I wasn't quite sure about them and wasn't quite sure what their impact was going to be. But Sheamus has gone up another level since Clash of the Castle. And I also think the Brawling Brutes are a fantastic faction now. I don't know what you think about them.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys have put it together, but I think it's amazing that Sheamus is this far into his career and is finally kind of getting the reactions that he probably always would have wanted. And I don't know how much of that is, from the Brawling Brutes. I did just see a comment there where it said about Butch is starting to look more like Pete Dunne again, which he is, obviously. And I do find that a lot better than these kind of like the flat caps and stuff that they're all wearing and things like that. But I think the presentation has organically changed, which is nice, rather than kind of just going, we're going to get rid of everything before and not acknowledge it. But I don't know. I'd rather Pete Dunne just crack on with himself and kind of go like, build himself up through the mid card. There's that obvious rivalry with I keep forgetting to say whether it's Gunther or Walter with Gunther.
Yeah. Oh, we get a 1, 2 kick out. We got a sort of a bro kick there. And Solo Sikoa, sorry to interrupt you, sorry to cut you off there, mate. Solo Sikoa looked like he kind of kicked out of a bro kick there almost. Was that a high knee or was it? No, it was the high knee. That was it. It was the high knee. So that's okay.
Yeah,
you can kick out the high knee.
Yeah, a good back and forward. This actually, he's really physical. Which seemed to be like Sheamus really kind of thrives in this. Like he's really good at like at the moment of having these like brutal back and forwards, and people really appreciate it. It kind of plays into his character. So they've really paired him up with people well in the last couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. Sassy agrees with Dan. So Dan says that Sheamus has to take the win here. Interesting to set up something down the line. Interesting. Sheamus has a clover leaf on Solo now. I don't think Solo's going to tap out. The Usos are there, but Sheamus dragging him back into the ring. Back towards the middle. Solo still keeping himself in this match. Michael making a comment about the crowd. Yeah, it looks great, man. It looks like the people are really on fire.
People are really on, right?
I guess. Hang on, sorry. Let me just reread your comment, Dan. I apologize. I must have been on I'm trying to do a million things at once. Super kick by the Usos on the outside to Pete Dunne. Right, so Sheamus has been on TV. Win for Solo ain't the way. So a win for Solo isn't the way, which to me, oh, hang on, no contest. There you go, DQ, no contest. That is what you said. I apologize. I'm on it. I'm doing it. Right, Sheamus now. Oh, Sheamus being pulled into the post there by Solo, and Uranagi onto the apron there.
The hardest part of the ring.
Yeah, hardest part of the ring. Solo's in control. He's got the Samoan spike. Again, another Umaga move. Boom, there it is. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Solo gets that win. No, solid, clear pinfall for Solo Sikoa, Randy.
Yeah.
The right call for you, mate?
I think so. I kind of want to reserve judgment until the main event because you kind of want to see how the whole bloodline plays out. But I think this is an interesting one because it seems like they're going to continue with the Bloodline versus Brawling Brutes. I know the tag team division isn't massively stocked, so it seems like they're going to continue this one. Yeah,
I guess maybe till the breakup of Sami's it because they're talking about Sami and Kevin Owens, right? So for that Mania match. So Solo Sikoa. You're right. Dan Reed is right. They're doing a lot of Umaga moves with Solo Sikoa. Sheamus is Umaga. Sorry, Umaga. Solo Sikoa was going for that hip attack on Sheamus with a chair, but Drew McIntyre back to save his buddies, back to help his buddies in the Brawling Brutes. McIntyre coming in, the Usos getting a headbutt. Solo and Drew. Are we going to get Solo Drew? Of course, we don't think we ever got that payoff from Clash. Solo Sikoa and Drew. No, did they have a match? I can't remember.
I feel like they have had a match.
Oh, there's a Claymore. Yeah, you know what? On second thought, I do feel like they have had a match, but they're still keeping this up. So are we getting maybe a Rumble 6-man? Something like that, or so Rumble 8-man, whatever. War games, maybe a War Games. Do War Games in the Rumble. What would you do? What would you do here then, Andy? Would you put them all together in a match and a brutal sort of what would it be, an 8-man kind of thing?
It'd be interesting to see who the. Unless you put Sami in it, like I don't really know who you would kind of have as the fourth because you wouldn't. I don't think Roman will be on it. I don't know why. I don't foresee him being on the Rumble card. Maybe they. Well, yeah, it's difficult on this because I think they're kind of booking it. Maybe they could have a tag match, and maybe they could have a match where it's Solo versus Drew, and just have Sheamus kind of have a bit of a break. But
yeah, of course they did do. I'd forgotten then when I was pitching for another War Games that was the first War Game. That was the War Games they did just a few weeks ago. Was Drew and the Brawling Brutes, I believe, versus the Bloodline. So we have already done it. Maybe they could do it again. I wouldn't necessarily be averse to maybe a different style of match with those pairings. Drew and the Brawling Brutes versus the Bloodline. I think that could work maybe in a different setting. Sassy commenting on the crowds here. Crowds have been dead on SmackDown, but show has been better opening. Hope the matches before main event don't lessen the heat. Yeah, well, we've got some stuff with Raquel Rodriguez and some of this sort of stuff with Ronda Rousey's been okay, particularly Shayna Baszler. I really like Shayna Baszler. I think Shayna Baszler, is steadily stepping out of the shadow of Ronda Rousey, Andy. So we'll hopefully see more of that this week. Just go through a couple of rest of these comments. Cool, he beat Sheamus. Talk about Sikoa. Where does he go from here? I guess more victories over established stars. Maybe another win against Sheamus, another win against Drew. For Solo to further establish him. That's what I would do. I think he is established just by association with the Bloodline. I don't know your thoughts on what you would do with Solo. I know you did just give some suggestions, to be fair to you, Andy.
Yeah, I think one of the confusing things though is like having Sheamus back in there. Drew McIntyre back in there. What's Drew doing now? Because he kind of well, I'm not going to say flubbed, is like the biggest kind of shot he had in his career, but he didn't walk away with the win. Then he kind of went into a bit of I wouldn't even say it was a massive rivalry with Karrion Kross. Did he win that kind of back and forward, or?
It was kind of they both had a win, didn't they? They both got a win on each other. I don't think there was ever a rubber match. I think Drew won the first. So I think Karrion Kross definitely won the last one that they had.
But yeah, I would also say, like, I know Dan said there, but like, where does Drew go from here? Because like he's kind of getting pulled back into this Bloodline feud, but not on the kind of top tier. But yeah, I think they need to have a proper payoff that they've never really had, where he should have gone straight for him, saying, "You cost me on my home turf." And and that never really happened. It was all a bit messy. I don't know if that was the kind of remnants of Vince's booking, and they didn't really know how to kind of separate it and stuff. But again, Karrion Kross has kind of been really he's been kicking his heels a little bit.
He has. So he's going into a feud with Ray, and thank you, Dan, for correcting me there. It was Drew that actually won that feud with that win in the cage. But yeah, I mean, Karrion going after Ray, I think it's great. You know, I would imagine Karrion Kross would go over Rey Mysterio in that, you would hope. I mean, it brings about a wider question for you while the break's on, Andy. Obviously, we were together just as this sort of returns had started, going into Clash and with damage control and things like that. Is there any returns that have underwhelmed you? We commented the other week about there was a couple of returns that felt a little bit cold. Obviously, we've just had Bronson Reed return on Raw. We had Nixon Newell, Tegan Knox return. That was one of the more colder ones, I thought. Emma was another one, even though I'm happy to see them both back. Your thoughts on these spurt of returns and their impact, really, of people like Cross, people like Tegan Knox, people like what would you expect from a Bronson Reed and a Dexter Lumis, for example?
I think when you hear Triple H speak about like his kind of vision and this, I'm going a bit further back when he was more in charge of NXT and NXT UK. He very much sees everything as like he once described when you're putting a card together, you can't always go up, 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 up. You need to let it breathe as well. And I think bringing some of them back maybe is to give the chance not only for matches but like the roster to breathe as well. And I think some of them maybe suit a purpose. I think the likes of Emma and Tegan Knox would particularly haven't really hit. I'm not a massive fan of Hit Row. I wasn't when they were on NXT. I think, I actually quite like, I don't like his name, but is it Ashante the Adonis? I think
Ashante the Adonis,
he's a great talent. Right. I think he's got stuff, but I'm not sure their current being a 3. They really needed Swerve when they were on NXT to kind of put them onto the next level. There's always those kind of rumors about Carmelo Hayes being there, but I think they're missing that really charismatic person to really kind of boost their presence there. So they're another one that I've been a little bit underwhelmed by, but they've had opportunities. So that's probably more than a lot of the other ones have had.
I agree, and I agree with your thoughts on Ashante. I think Swerve going, certainly damages the group, but Ashanti's arguably, I would say, the most talented member of that group. And I think that there's a lot of potential in Hit Row. I think BFAB could be fantastic as well. So I think there's a lot of potential, but we haven't seen that yet. We're not seeing that, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean about Hit Row particularly. Hassan wants to vote. I'll get it as soon as there's a match on, mate. You'll have your vote, no problem at all. Charlie is in. John Cena's going to get. Was that attacked? Charlie, just correct that for me. I assume that's what you meant there. Dan says Nixon would have benefited from vignettes and build to a debut rather than a save return, in my opinion, unless she was returning in New York City, New Jersey, Philly, or similar. Obviously, as someone that will have worked with Nixon before, Dan. I can certainly sympathize. Well, I can certainly empathize with your thoughts there. I would have preferred for a bigger return for Tegan, personally. I think she's a great talent, but she's back and she has a job, and that's great, I suppose. But I absolutely understand with where you're at. Todd commenting on Lacey Evans' return, which we're seeing this week. Lacey Evans is a joke now. I think Lacey's a great talent, Todd. I just think the presentation has not been great. I think the Southern Belle thing was possibly the best gimmick for Lacey. I don't know what you think about that, Andy.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed. I think it was when she had the back and forth with Becky, and she kind of like, what was she had like her tights like Seth on her like trunks or whatever it was, and they were like kind of really like mixed tag team, and that was when she was probably like hottest in terms of like with crowd reactions and things. She's not done herself any favors recently on social media. There's that kind of like gilt-edged sword. She's kind of fallen on the wrong side of that. But yeah, Lacey Evans is one of those difficult ones. It's almost like the Big Show, where is she supposed to be heel or face this week? She seems to kind of go back and forward way too much. So yeah, definitely get that.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm totally with you on that. Like I say, we have talked a lot about Lacey Evans and the constant gimmick changes and things. I hope, Sassy asked, how many times can they repackage her? Yeah, interesting point. Again, a great talent, deserves a lot, but being constantly repackaged is going to hurt. Going to hurt the gimmick, going to hurt the talent, really. Arguably, going to go hang out with my family. Happy New Year, Michael. Happy New Year, of course, guys. We're heading into the new year, 2023. Drop some New Year's resolutions in the comments for me. And if you do have to go, Happy New Year from us, from everybody here, on behalf of Anthony, on behalf of Dan, on behalf of Sam, and of course, Andy's with us now. Happy New Year from us to you. Andy, have you got any New Year's resolutions, mate?
Not resolutions as such, but I like to kind of set myself some goals each year to try and achieve. So yeah, some of them is just getting my kind of writing out there a little bit more, appearing on videos like this, and hopefully, creating more of a community within British wrestling. My ultimate goal, I will be the best feature writer in the UK. You heard it here first.
Nice one, mate. I wholeheartedly support you in that. I will do my absolute best to support you as best I can in 2023. You're again a talented guy with a lot of with a great platform. And just before this match starts, once again, if you've not checked out what Andy does, it's called Rush on Rock. It's across social media. I once again put that link in the description across Twitch, across Facebook and YouTube. So please do go and support Rush on Rock. Go and check them out. Go and support Andy. Drop him a message on Twitter and all that stuff. I'll put your Twitter in there as well for everyone. We'll do like periodic checks where we can do a little bit of plugging before the match begins. We've got Ronda Rousey and Raquel Rodriguez. Does Raquel have a snowball's chance in hell of winning this one, Andy?
What, in the middle of a Smackdown episode on the last day of the year? I don't think so. Interested to see Shayna's going proper like hype behind her, like hype woman behind her. Interesting energy. I like these two being together. I think they need each other. I also think they desperately need a mouthpiece for this, for that kind of team. Yeah.
Who would you put with them? The only guy I would have put with them would have been either Heyman or he's on AEW now and leads the firm.
Malcolm Bivens.
Malcolm Bivens. I would have put him with Malcolm Bivens. That would have been great. Obviously, no chance of that now. But Malcolm Bivens is great. Yeah, you go. The Robbie Stone brand. Yeah, could work.
I don't know if he's maybe a bit too silly, but on the main roster, he's not really done that. But he is a good talker, so
yeah, absolutely. Sassy's reminding me of my job. I've decided, because we got so many comments, guys, and thank you for that. I've put the what's on now on the bottom, scrolling across the bottom, so that'll cover that. Andy will cover this. Andy will cover this while I do the. What am I supposed to do here? Oh man, it's because it's
doing the vote.
They're doing the right. Yeah, there you go. The vote. Thank you, mate. You've been on this podcast for like for like 54 minutes, and you already do better than me, mate. Thank you so much for your help. It gets a bit, you know, when you get to like 147, and like I've been sort of back at work today, so I'm a little bit spaced out. So I appreciate the support and having you with me here. So I'll do the vote while Andy covers the action, so that we can please Hassan, who is of course a constant part of our community, reminding us to do votes and things like that. So I will get on right on that for you. As Raquel Rodriguez, Andy, looks to be having a strong showing so far.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure if it's a work, but Ronda's holding her knee every so often. And she's just kind of, okay, so Raquel's just gone straight into the turnbuckle onto the outside, holding her arm, which obviously it worked. It is kind of broken, as they keep saying. I'm not sure how well you could wrestle on an actual broken elbow. It seems like it would be a bit too much, but that would be interesting if that's a legit twinge of Ronda's knee or not, or if she's actually learned the art of selling, which I don't think she's done so far as we go into a break.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to ask you, by the way. What about you? Have you got any New Year's resolutions or goals, etc.?
More wrestling stuff, man. Obviously, I kind of had a taste of it, over lockdown, and then obviously more of it with Clash of the Castle. It was really my sort of first real foray into wrestling media after sort of a decade plus doing, music and then, pop culture stuff. So it's really interesting to kind of do that. That's why we're launching the WrestleSphere. So building that, going to focus less on news gathering and more on exclusive content, interviews, things of that nature, and building stuff from that, so that we have a unique, have a as unique as we could possibly be platform where we just have content that is ours. So we're gonna build some interviews. We've got some opinion pieces planned, mainly focused around, in the early days, the British wrestling scene. We want to really build. You talked about promoting the British wrestling scene, so that's a huge priority for us next year. Aside from that, really enjoying my work as a counsellor at the moment. Obviously, you guys know that that's one of the things I do alongside SoundSphere now. I've really built my reputation in that field over the last few months, and I'm really enjoying that work. More traveling as well. So maybe a trip to LA, but I'm going to Iceland in February. Very excited about that. I've just come back from Portugal. So more traveling for me, that's really important. I think we talked a little bit about it, just like pushing myself, but healthily. Do you know what I mean? So getting out, because I'm a bit of a hermit. I don't know about you, Andy, but since lockdown and since we since StreamYard and Zoom and all these things became a thing, most of my work I can do online, which is wonderful. It's wonderful in so many ways, because it means we can connect so easily like this. But within different parts of the country, but it's made me lazy. I'm not gonna lie, dude. It's made me lazy. Like I love working from home. I'm a bit of a hermit. People are really surprised. I am a massive hermit these days. So just getting out of the house more, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think I'm lucky in the respect that in my full-time job, I managed to go into the office a couple of times a week. But I think that back in Cardiff, that was a really interesting bit for us to kind of have the opportunity to meet face-to-face, because I don't think wrestling fans in general are the most sociable people. And that, I don't say that as a negative. I say that as like they're very insular, and they kind of like their comforts and they like what they like. We're all opinionated. We all have our what we like and what we don't like. So I think it was great to kind of have the opportunity for so many people to meet up. But yeah, I completely agree. It'll be awesome to kind of meet up with more people and get out a little bit more in 2023, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. That's the plan. I said to Emma, my partner, because my partner has to sometimes, push me these days. I used to be very, very social. Obviously, we used to tour in the band and everything, and then I've just become very comfortable. I gave up my office. I had an office in town where we live, and I gave it up to work from home. And I've fallen in love with this, but equally, it's very important for me, as you guys know. Obviously, I have cerebral palsy. It's very important for me to move and to move around, and actually, I've not been doing that. So that is my New Year's resolution. In short, that was a long answer, but in short, to move around, to do my, to be a bit more flexible, and to maybe get out and see you in Los Angeles, mate. That would be a dream come true if that could happen. So that is my plan. But yeah. please do drop your New Year's resolutions or goals. Even as Andy has said, you don't have to. If you don't have New Year's resolutions, that's absolutely fine. If you've got some goals, do post them in the comments, and we'll try and read them out and see what they're all about. As Ronda Rousey is in control of Raquel, working on that injured arm, that already injured arm of Raquel. I suppose that's a wider question again, Andy, for you. Are you overwhelmed by? Do you enjoy watching Raquel in the ring? And also do you enjoy watching Ronda in the ring? Which talent are you more from a wrestling fan perspective, and also a wrestling journalist as you are? Are you excited by both these talents in the ring?
Short answer, not really.
Okay.
There is a longer answer though, on the basis that I find Ronda, I can't not watch her. I find like everything that she kind of gets involved in, it's very interesting to see like how is she picking things up. That was a very close call, by the way. Nearly a 3 count for Raquel. This match in particular, I wouldn't have had it down as a classic, but Ronda's actually putting in like some decent work here. She's kind of, it's more fluidity in this match than I've seen from her in any of her kind of matches this year. And it's very interesting to see from the point where she started to the point where she is now. She does pick up different moves and she's improving, but I'm not excited to see one of her matches. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, apart from the tag team match at WrestleMania with Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie, a match where I really enjoyed her being in it.
Interesting point, mate. Yeah, I feel the same way about, and to be fair, Raquel's really improved for me over the last few weeks. I feel the same way a lot about Raquel, but in terms of being built as a legitimate title contender. But I understand your thoughts on Ronda as well. I think it takes a certain type of opponent for Ronda to really get into it, and maybe that is Raquel. Maybe that is now, because we're seeing. I would agree with you. This is the most interested I've been in a Ronda Rousey match for a long time. Maybe it's the end of the year. Maybe it's because you're here. I don't know. But I am excited to be on this Smackdown, covering this Smackdown with you guys. And but yeah, certainly the best Ronda Rousey match I've seen in a while, I would say. And as an extension of that, I'm actually interested in Raquel Rodriguez as well.
Were you upset with that we never really got the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen match?
That's a great question. No, you can't miss what you've never had. And I think that for me, and I want to see it, but it needs to be built. It needs to be built. And then obviously, I don't think we're going to get it now. I don't think we'll ever get that. I mean, that's a wider conversation. I believe is Sasha's in the 4, right? Is Sasha in the 4 horsewomen?
Yeah. So there's on the kind of WWE side or NXT who kind of came up. It was we just gone to a break, by the way, after Ronda and Raquel split to the outside. We would have had Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley versus Ronda, Shayna, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke. Now, as far as I'm aware, Jessamine Duke, she's very good on her streaming. She's a gamer. I think that's what she does full time now, I believe. I don't think I've seen her anywhere else. Marina Shafir had that kind of very cringy AEW promo, which seemed to stop any kind of momentum she was getting with Vicky Guerrero. And then obviously we have the kind of 2 that I would say are probably the more experienced in a wrestling ring, still with WWE as well. Yeah.
But that's some good points there, man. I think, I don't know, man. I mean, Sassy's made a point here. Yeah. Hang on a sec. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there, guys. We were talking about women's wrestling. Sassy's on about Eve, AEW. Intensity is not there. So you're saying, Sassy, here, sorry, I did lose your comment there in listening to Andy. You're saying, Sassy, and just correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're our moderator and we love having you. And I'm not saying I disagree with you directly. I'm just saying you're saying that watching the Indies and even AEW, that the wrestling in WWE just doesn't match that intensity. Is that what I've got from that? Just want to clarify there, because I don't want to misrepresent.
Or is that about? I'm not sure if that's Ronda or not.
It could be. Yeah. So the intensity of Ronda, Sassy, because I know Sassy was saying that she's not really into either Ronda or Raquel. So Sassy, check out Women of Wrestling. Yeah, I know AJ Mendez is working with Women's Wrestling. I've seen a few of their matches on YouTube. Andy, have you encountered Women of Wrestling so far?
No, to be honest, I've seen the kind of like the announcements, and it's one of those ones where I find it really difficult to watch when a promotion is starting out in its first kind of infancy. It's very difficult to judge things, so I kind of want to let it start breathing a little bit more and then see how they're getting on, because similar to AEW, they had amazing things at the beginning, and then that kind of like lull, or they might get things wrong. There was maybe some botches, etc., production issues. I'd rather let them kind of breathe and get their feet underneath them, and then check it out a little bit more when they're, when it's a bit fairer, I think, to do so.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Norma just making a comment about Raquel. Tall, athletic, potential is there. Yeah, I no doubt the potential is there. But for me, I mean, Andy and I have had many talks about this, over the weekend of Clash and beyond. As you guys saw, I'm a huge fan of character work in sports entertainment. This is a soap opera, effectively, for me. I look at wrestling as a soap opera. And if you look at the character work for Raquel, Ronda Rousey seems to have developed more of a character as she's been in WWE, more of a badass, so to speak. I know I'm not really supposed to say ass. I know I'll be demonetized potentially, but a bad bottom. I don't really like saying that either. It feels weird. So anyway, Ronda Rousey's a bit of a badass, and has that character. Raquel doesn't really seem, and I know that's me as a fan. I am into character work. I think you need a character as well. I think you need, alongside all that athleticism, you need to have not necessarily a gimmick, but just something about you. Does that make sense? That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Am I being a bit harsh there, Andy? I don't know.
No, I think there's that. You can have as much talent as you want. I think there's maybe there's a line that you don't have to go all the way across, because there are people who are very good at just wrestling, like Johnny Gargano. I don't think ever really needed a massive gimmick. He just is very good at that side as well. Ciampa, to an extent, like all those kind of things, like they had that wrestling and then they built the gimmick in to elevate them even more when they're in NXT. Raquel is really interesting because I don't know if you caught when they're on NXT and she had a team with Dakota Kai. Kind of like, people were talking about it on other podcasts where she was like, or maybe she's like Diesel kind of character of like Big Mummy Cool, and having her kind of like go down that route of like, again, she's maybe one who maybe needs to be a bit more silent. I don't know if being a face suits her kind of
I agree with you.
Build and athleticism and stuff like that. But this is actually a decent match. They're giving them like a lot of time, which is great.
I very much agree with you there, Andy, and I'm very impressed with the time they've been given. Yeah, Ronda's hit the turnbuckle there. Yeah, totally agree with you, mate. I think that Diesel comparison, Big Mummy Cool. Yeah, that would be interesting if they went down that route. Sassy says Rory's better. The only reason you think Rory's better, Sassy, is because you manage Dan. So your opinion is invalid because you're biased towards Monday Night Raw presenter Dan. But yeah, Roy's better, but the intensity, drive, and skill is like, you talk about Ronda. Ronda is better, but the intensity, drive, and skill is still lacking in Ronda's case. Ronda's case, the potential is, hang on. Are you talking about these two, or are you talking about Monday Night Raw? I can't tell. Sassy, Smackdown does not have that in your eyes. Okay, so Sassy, so Todd clarifying there. Makes total sense, Tom. All the big stars have their character gimmick. Raquel needs to find hers, and Mike's skills are a must. Yeah, I think that's what me and Andy are saying, Norma. But like I say, for both myself and Andy, looks to be the from both of these guys, the match that both of us have been most impressed with for both Ronda and Raquel. So props to these guys in the ring because, for me and Andy, best match we've seen him in. So
this is a bizarre statement to me. This is a kind of paper. This is better than the pay-per-views that Ronda's done recently, right? This is better than like the Liv Morgan matches.
Absolutely, mate. Raquel on the top, but Ronda's got that arm.
That's a cool visual.
That is a cool visual.
So Ronda, just to kind of explain, Ronda's up on the top turnbuckle.
Wow.
With Raquel.
That was amazing. So Ronda brought Raquel down onto the mat while still holding the arm. And as a result of that, Raquel hit the mat and then immediately tapped out to that armbar. Very well done. Best match I've ever seen Ronda Rousey in, and best match I've ever seen Raquel Gonzalez in, without question. What we do, Andy, just to give you a bit of context at the end, what I will ask you, I'll ask you for three things. I will ask you for a performer of the night, I will ask you for a match of the night, and I will ask you for a grade out of 10. And for me, so far, obviously we've got a little bit of time yet, but to me, this is I know we've not had too many options so far, but to me, this is the match of the night so far,
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of like the match for Solo and Sheamus wasn't a bad match by any stretch. This has actually been a very solid in-ring, and also with the Bray opening the show, this has actually been a very solid Smackdown. And I presume that's because there could be wider eyes on it with Cena being back and obviously bringing that Peacemaker audience, potentially, or some of them into the wrestling as well.
Very much so. Hang on. Oh, Charlotte Flair's back, everyone! No way! Charlotte Flair is here. No way. What a return on the final SmackDown of the year. Charlotte Flair is back.
Big pop, by the way.
Absolutely. What a return for Charlotte Flair. I think she's got slightly different music as well. Oh, hang on. I've missed that banner up. There we go. So Ronda Rousey, it looks like Charlotte Flair's going in. This is a face. Charlotte Flair looks in great condition. This would be a good time to plug in our WWE interviews section right here on the Give Me a Whole Yeah podcast. We have an interview with Charlotte Flair. Go and check that out. We were able to ask Charlotte a quick question, which we have on record. So go and check that out. Notice she's got her last name back. Interesting there. Okay, thank you, Dan. New style gear. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. Charlotte is back. She's got the microphone. Ronda's asking how the rehab of the arm is going. So Ronda's predicting that Charlotte's coming to challenge at the Rumble. We got some woos. Tonight, she can't challenge him tonight, Andy, who's just had a match. That's not that's just not cricket. You can't challenge her tonight. She's just had a match. That's not fair. Who's going to sanction that, Andy?
They could seriously undo a lot of hard work they've just put in if they have Charlotte come back and instantly win the title. Like, the crowd is going nuts for it. They're doing very well. Charlotte's gear is very different, by the way.
It is, yeah. All right. Ronda's feeling spicy, apparently. No, we can't. No. Shayna's saying no. Shayna's telling Ronda she just won the match. She doesn't need to do this. Oh, my God. She's going to do it. She's going to do it. No way.
This feels like a cash-in.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, big boot to the face.
Ronda kick out. So we got Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Why would you do this now? So Charlotte Flair is returning. You'd save this for the Rumble, surely. I know Dan will have some comments on this. And yes, indeed, I predicted it. I don't like her either, but she has the intensity and skill to make you care about a match like Charlotte. Ronda's got a potential armbar.
Oh,
There's the armbar. Charlotte rolling 2, 3. No way. Did Charlotte just win the title?
well, pulling the tights. Well,
No. Charlotte Flair just won the SmackDown Women's Championship on the last day of the year, Andy. No way.
I mean, I can't. That's a big surprise. Unless Ronda's due for some time away, but like that seems okay. Big surprise. Well done.
Yeah, very big surprise at the end of the year.
This
Charlotte
crowd
Flair
is hot, by the way.
They are. I can't believe that. Charlotte in the crowd hugging the kids. She's gone full face.
I did see rumors earlier on that Ric Flair was in the building.
There you go.
So should maybe a second guess that.
Yeah, absolutely. New champ, says Jay. 3KJ there. Yes, absolutely. Right, okay. What babyface waits until someone's finished their match to challenge them for a match tonight? Yeah, I 100%. Yeah, Charlotte.
the Charlotte kind of babyface.
Absolutely. Everyone needs a fresh presentation at some point. And then she jumps her with the boot. Yeah, very, very heelish.
And she had the tights on the count as well, I'm sure. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was what it was. I mean, for casual fans, Dan, that was a big moment for you. I could see why you would have issue with it. You can tell I'm excited, guys. I keep coughing. I've lost my voice. Charlotte Flair's back and she's won the title. It's fireworks and everything. Like it's almost like they knew it was going to happen. 14-time world champion once again. A perfect opportunity to plug our Charlotte Flair interview right here on the podcast. Go check out our WWE interview section if you'd like to see some more interviews with WWE stars. But congratulations to Charlotte Flair returning and winning the championship. Sassy said, so, yo, Dan, can you explain why that was? I'm sure Dan will explain. As we're now getting the Bloodline backstage. Let's just get some other comments up. Triple H said that people underperforming would have consequences. Okay, I didn't know that. So Charlotte comes back as a babyface, challenges the villain after they've gone through a long, hard match. The villain accepts the challenge. The babyface jumps them and then wins holding the tights. Yeah, so not very face-ish tactics. So Sami now reminding Roman Reigns for some reason that he is more over than Roman is. That's a surefire way to get yourself kicked out of the Bloodline. Dan with a very strong response. We'll get to that shortly, Dan, after we cover the Bloodline stuff backstage. Ooh. Right. Sami said so. Roman Reigns saying that Sami's going to carry the Bloodline to victory tonight.
Yeah, he said if he can carry 10% of his conviction that he said his words with last week, that they'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, it looks good. It's going to be an amazing match. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't broken Cena out more already. But just a couple of maybe we'll get a vignette. It's we're now sort of just over that second hour mark, so we're coming into the the tail end of SmackDown. So I imagine we'll maybe hear from Cena before the match, or maybe at the end, or maybe we'll set something up. Who knows? Obviously there's some time. I
want to see like an old school arriving in like in a car or a limo sort of thing where he gets and pop the crowd to let him know that he is there. That would have been cool to see.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. Some Doctor of Thugonomics stuff, but just to pop that crowd. It's right. Okay, so Dan's got some hot takes. So let's just address these in the break. Bollocks that casual fan S word. Overexcited hardcore WWE fans will like it. WWF fans will like it. Casual fans will look at that and say that makes no sense, just like they would if they were watching a movie. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, thanks, Dan. Was that the right thing to do then? Is a question from Todd for Dan. And it's okay for overexcited WWE fans to like it. Every type of product has a hardcore fan, but casuals see through this. I can totally see the logic there, yeah. Your thoughts on some of Dan's points there, Andy?
I mean, I would completely bow to his wisdom. But in my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of that. We were just saying how good that match was. No one comes out of that match now. No one remembers that match. All they remember is Charlotte Flair coming back.
Yeah. And we were just saying how great it was. Yeah.
I think that's a very cheap booking. I think that's a cheap pop. The only thing I can think in answer to that, the question that was there is like, was it the right thing to do? Time will tell, because if that's a kind of, we need pieces to move in time for the Rumble, or we need pieces in time for someone needs to have time off. We don't know those kind of workings. I presume there is a bigger plan. I don't like the way that they've arrived at that. I think that was very kind of slipshod, and I don't think it helps Charlotte, because one of the biggest criticisms Charlotte gets is that they put the title on her too much. Well, why have they done it instantly again after giving her a new look, after giving her months out, and they do that?
Yeah, very much so, mate. Very much agree with you. And like I say, that's just diminished. We were just saying, arguably a match of the night, and objectively, I guess you got to say match of the night, but potentially, but what are you going to remember? What are you going to remember? You're going to remember that cash in now, and I very much agree with Dan. With all of his wrestling knowledge. Wow, that is confusing for a casual fan. It is. Why would you have the good guy come and do that attacking? Which is, goes back to my discussion around Bray and LA Knight at the beginning. LA Knight to me is more the face in that feud, but that's a wider conversation for later on. This is why wrestling isn't as popular. Interesting point there, Dan, as well. How many kids my kids are friends with, or even know that like wrestling? None. Interesting. I guess that is a good question for you as well. Well, we've got you, Andy. As someone that runs a site that has wrestling content, do you know many people? Obviously, you've got a network now of wrestling journalists through your time doing media stuff. Do you know many young people? Do you have many friends that like wrestling?
Yes, I have like a few that are kind of like more into it. I always gauge, because there's certain people, if they get in touch and they're like, "Hey, I saw this was on wrestling," like how mainstream it's going. So like the Logan Paul stuff. You can tell that kind of works, because I had people that have never spoke to me about wrestling before asking me about wrestling. So there are like kind of that is quite interesting when those people start like asking you. I've got like cousins and that are quite young and are getting into wrestling as well. Not so much as I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. There seemed to be like a big boom about like kids getting into it more. But when you go to the shows, when it's like just the live tours that they do in the UK, that is a predominantly young audience. How they kind of keep them interested in the product as it goes forward, I think is a big question for them. Which is probably why it's very colourful is the way they're going now. Yeah,
interesting. I'm going to say we've got some other comments in as well. We'll try and get those in before the next match. Are we getting some Dominic and Rhea stuff? We're getting a recap of Dominic and Rhea invading Ray's home for Christmas. Digital exclusive. Here for the holidays. Both myself and Andy had a quick chat with Rhea about music on Clash. It was lovely. Dominic and Ray right now disagreeing about the holidays and whether Dominic and Rhea should be showing up.
Have you watched this video that was on the social media?
No, I've not seen it yet. No.
So I would encourage people to go watch it, because it's one of the similar to the first one. It's very
whoa! Rhea just got slapped. The police are here.
So WWE has actually already released a T-shirt of this from this video of Dom in the police car, because one of the quotes he says is "I won't make it in jail." Another quote was "My mom hit mommy." So they was like, it is very cringe, but really well done at the same time.
I won't make it in jail. Coffin and Priest. Don't let him take me. I will not survive in jail. That's amazing.
So yeah, there is a T-shirt on the American WWE shop with him in the back of the police car.
Oh, they're making a joke of Top Dollar missing the rope last week. They don't call you Top Rope Dollar. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's Flop Dollar. Oh my days. Top Dollar's just getting roasted for missing that dive. Oh no! Top Dollar pushing Ricochet. Oh no way! Hit Row going heel. Oh wow! Okay,
So we had the kind of backstage promo when they're roasting Top Dollar. It was New Day, Ricochet. I'm not sure. Are they still going by Maxim models?
Maxim Male Models. Those two. What is it? Mansoir and Marseille. Yeah. They're still going by Maxim Male Models. Yeah. So they're all backstage.
I've completely blanked on the name of the. It used to be with Happy Corbin was there as well.
Oh yeah. Madcap Moss.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're all roasting Top Dollar. Ricochet comes in less jokingly and says, "Oh, you don't make it look as good as I do. Don't make it look as easy." And for some reason, after the massive roasting he's just got, Top Dollar chooses to take offense to Ricochet of all the people. I think, was it Marseille who said "Flop Dollar"? So there was loads of things worse than what Ricochet said. But anyway, Ricochet got the brunt of Top Dollar's aggression. Ricochet got pushed into the crowd, and I guess that's going to signal the heel turn. Ric Flair is now back on television, WWE TV, with an advert. One of the finest moments of my wrestling journalism career was being able to speak to Rick. I'm very proud of that one. But yeah, so it's great to see Rick now back on WWE television. Dancing UK TV ratings for WWE are down. I know that AEW has the monopoly, I believe, in the UK for television and wrestling. Look at
ratings isn't a thing in the UK now, is it? We've never been that way inclined, and I also think the UK is such a difficult rating system to try and break into on the basis that BT Sport is a subscription model that isn't even the most popular subscription model in the UK compared to ITV4, which is on literally every single TV that you could possibly get in the UK. So I don't think you could ever really take much stock in numbers for viewing figures for each, because one's making a lot more money than the other one across here. I assure you of that.
Right, yeah. So, Dan, my point was that AEW, according to AEW and a few other people, different fans I've spoken to, they've said that in terms of ratings, in terms of viewing figures, AEW does do better figures than WWE. But yeah, interesting points there from yourself, Andy. Obviously, I'm not comparing AEW to WWE though in the ratings. Okay, right. Yeah, look at the attendance of some of the WWE. I'm talking. I know you talk about WWE shows here. Nottingham did like 4,000 here, 10,000 seater. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is that people seem to like it at Clash. You know, people were happy it was full, right? I'm pretty sure it was mostly full. So,
there was that one end which had the giant Wales flag on it, and I wonder if like that was an end that maybe they would have sold out if they'd had a John Cena, if they'd had a Stone Cold, if they'd had a couple of the bigger names, because the card wasn't the best. I think they could have had a bigger card that might have sold a few more seats, but I don't think you can grumble when there was it about 60, 70,000 people in the stadium. There's not many other things other than football that would do that, or sport, I would say.
Yeah. I'm talking viewership, and viewership equals popularity. I'm not talking rights fees. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, you might have. I know you've worked at TV deals and stuff before, Dan. I mean, it's obviously it's a world. I'm not a wrestling booker. I'm not a wrestling promoter. I just, we're here to review the content in this platform, and then obviously we write about it. Both Andy and I write about it. Andy on Rush on Rock, myself on Soundsphere. So it's a different ball game for us. It's a different ball game for us. We come at it from fans. You've got to come at it from a more critical and, I guess, analytical perspective, I would imagine. So, Clash, let's focus on that. Number one, they dropped the tickets prices by 50% and then up to 80% because their tickets didn't sell at the figures they first anticipated. Secondly, how many UK shows have they done this year in the UK compared to shows in the past? I suppose only SummerSlam. Was that SummerSlam in 90, whatever? Was 92. The last one? 92, yeah. Well,
I don't know if he's talking about the tours do seem to be getting shorter in terms of they used to do things like Maidenhead, or they would do like Bournemouth or something. But I don't know. There's a lot of tangibles. Like I think there's stats, and was it the Churchill's saying was stats and lies. I think you can make stats look whatever you want them to look like, because we're also in a post-COVID era where people don't actually go out as much. We're also in a recession where people aren't spending as much money. For WWE to have taken as much money, and I believe it was a record gate that wasn't a WrestleMania, that is a ridiculous amount of money for the times that we live in. I think kind of comments like that and maybe slightly diminishing of the work that WWE does in the UK. I don't know. Maybe the popularity is waning somewhat, but on that day, I certainly wouldn't believe that it was. When you see all those kind of, how much money they were taking in merch, etc. That shop was cleaned out. I think they are popular. I think they're making as much money as they possibly could do. But yeah, I think he is right. The popularity maybe isn't there like it used to be, but that's been the case for a long time now.
Yeah. We're just getting confirmation that the pitch black match that's been talked about online will be Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. So LA Knight and Bray Wyatt in a pitch black match. I didn't get much of that.
Mountain Dew pitch black match?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mountain Dew sponsored pitch black match. Yeah, it's not very creepy, is it? Not very spooky. We got Ludwig Kaiser and Imperium. Lungu says Roman. Yeah, we're not seeing Roman yet, Lungu, but we will soon. Okay. Okay, now they review the Bray happening, but did we learn anything by this other than Bray versus LA Knight, which we all knew already? Well, it's the pitch black match is what we knew of, Todd. The pitch black match is what we knew of. Business effect.
Actually talking.
Yeah. The business, in my opinion, affects the percentage point. Yeah, I understand that. Sassy, welcome in. Lungu into the chat. Welcome, of course. If you've not joined us before, we are the Gimme a Hull Yeah podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. I got those figures because it's my job to follow. I also follow live music, which is difficult, admittedly, in cinema because it's all entertainment, and we have to do comparisons across all. Yeah, I imagine so. Completely understand why you need to do that. As we're getting a recap of Gunther Walter's very dominant run in the Intercontinental Championship division, I guess now. Brought some credibility to the Intercontinental Championship, I would say, Andy, massively.
Yeah, and I think his presentation is probably one of the kind of success stories of being called up to the main roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ludwig Kaiser is a great talker, by the way. He's so
amazing.
kind of crystal clear in his promos. He's doing a great job for him.
Yeah, he's great. He was actually a really interesting guy to talk to. We got to talk. You and I got to talk to 2/3 of Imperium Clash, and very, 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 very. You know, you wouldn't think they would be so talkative, but they were, with the time that we had anyway, very talkative and chatty. Lovely people. Braun Strowman and Gunther. The feud that I never thought that I wanted, but actually I kind of do. Gunther and Braun, Andy.
Yeah, just cutting off Gunther before he starts talking there. Braun's in great shape, by the way. I like his kind of presentation. The only thing he's kind of semi-serious. They're not kind of steering him into being like a full monster, but they making him fairly jovial at times as well. But he's all business here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So Braun Strowman saying that he hasn't beaten that Gunther hasn't beaten him. A nice little cheesy line there. There's not a man on SmackDown that can defeat you, but what about a monster? Gunther walking away. Imperium attacking Braun.
He said he wasn't asking for a title opportunity. He was telling him, boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before cleaning the house.
Braun and Gunther is currently on, but there's not a match, but that is what's happening right now.
Braun catches what was going to be a chop before laying out Gunther.
Oh, he's going to do the train thing. Thank God we got rid of the sound effects, though, mate. Do you remember the train sound effects we used to have?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's not fun. It's called Strowman Express.
Yeah. Ooh. He missed. So he got the others. He got Kaiser and Vinci, but missed Gunther with the train, and now Gunther with the chair. Gunther with the chair, and now Imperium holding Braun. This has got to be one of the bigger challenges Gunther has ever faced, I would say. Strowman into the ring steps. Vinci and Kaiser looking very strong here as well. Good to see Imperium having lots of opportunities. Up Production says, please don't put the belt on Braun. I don't want that either. I want to see Gunther versus Brock Lesnar down the line for the Intercontinental Championship. But I have a feeling, given that Strowman is, for better or worse, one of the more popular athletes on the brand, I would imagine. I have a feeling that Strowman might be taking the title. I don't know about you, Andy. What do you think of that?
I have quite strong views on people like Strowman when they are going for the title. Because I kind of feel like it was very similar with Bray Wyatt when he went for the title as the Fiend. I kind of feel like when you're a monster and built as a monster, whether that's like in size or in kind of gimmick, that it's so difficult because all you do is you go straight to the top, you get the title, and then what? It becomes a David versus Goliath every single time. It's a David versus Goliath story. And that seems to be the holding pattern they get stuck in. It's very rare that a big guy ever like kind of progresses on to be a very amazing champion. Andre the Giant, I think, is the kind of like the best example of like, I don't think he ever really needed the title. Like, I agree. I would say like people like the Big Show never really needed it. The Fiend, this might be controversial, definitely didn't need it.
Yeah, I very much agree with you, mate. Very much agree with you. Absolutely. Just to recap there, Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit, because again, there's plenty of good examples. Jake the Snake Roberts never had a title, still became a legend, still was a Hall of Famer. There were perfect examples of people that never got belts, that still became household names. Just to recap, it was Ricochet, who we just saw, of course, seemingly starting a feud with Top Dollar, coming out to save Braun Strowman from the Imperium brutalizing with the chair and then the arm breaker by Gunther. So Ricochet still supporting his mate, his new friend Braun Strowman, in their matches with Imperium. Braun Strowman and Ricochet as a tag team. Ricochet. I'm very impressed with the booking of Ricochet since Triple H has been in charge. Ricochet is one of those people who deserves better, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I remember seeing some comments that he made. I think it was like last year or the year before. And I don't even remember when. I think it was during the Thunderdome era. He went back to wearing, I think at one point, black trunks.
Yeah.
And there was really interesting comments. He said he was taking kind of inspiration from is it young boys, they call them in Japan, where they're kind of like the ring boys and for like the kind of more superstar, and they're not allowed to wear really flashy stuff and they have to earn them. So his kind of mentality was he had to go back and start himself up again, and he wanted to do that. So then you'll see he went from that to then wearing the tights to then getting more color on the tights. And as you say, I think under Triple H, his showcase, the match he had for the World Cup match against Santos Escobar was fantastic. And then even last week, having that, what normally is the really cringy hardcore street fight matches, whatever you want to call them, and making that entertaining. He deserves a lot of props. I think he's had probably one of his better years in WWE since he came to the main roster with Aleister Black. So
very much so, mate. Very much so. Yeah, totally agree with you there. I think Ricochet's coming to his own, and I didn't know that detail about going back as well. It's a lovely detail, and obviously shows how much Ricochet loves the business. I've been a fan of his since his time in Lucha Underground as Prince Puma. So Ricochet he's put the work in, and it's great to see him finally getting a little bit of love from Triple H and from the powers that be in WWE. So just we'll welcome Op Productions to the chat once again. Thank you, Op, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. So you guys talk about, Todd, I agree. It's moving slow on purpose and missing pieces like talent or booking. Hang on a second. Let me just get the context of that. Are you talking about, let me just try and reread that. Moving slow on purpose on missing pieces like talent or booking. You talk about slow booking. Is that what you talk? So slow, like a full stop, right? Okay. You talk about slow booking there. Oh, hang on. Okay. Oh, now they review the Bray happening, but we didn't learn anything. Yeah, you talk about the slow story build. Me and Andy were talking about this earlier. Sort of slow building, and I know Todd and I have also discussed it in brief. How we have thought that the Bray thing was maybe a little bit too slow, but it seems to be picking up pace now. As of tonight, Uncle Howdy got physical. But I like Andy's booking. I like the fact that it might be a swerve, Seeing some interesting things going on there, potentially, with the Bray feud.
The slow booking thing is interesting because I actually, when we were doing the media rounds for Clash and spoke to Judgment Day, and Damian Priest gave some insight because I asked him questions like, you didn't really get the reception that maybe you would have wanted at the beginning, but they're starting to get it. They were starting to get it then. And he said, he said that one of the biggest things now is that a lot of wrestling fans want that instant gratification of a payoff, and if something's not working, chuck it away. And that's kind of testament to them that they hung in there and they changed things a little bit. They introduced a new character or a new member of the Judgment Day, and I think they're in a lot better place than they were at the beginning. So I think different people just like different things. I think when people aren't talking about you, that's when you need to start worrying. So the fact that Bray Wyatt is either people just want to see him in the wrestling ring, or they want to kind of say, actually, no, let it breathe, let him cook, or whatever the phrase is at the moment. People are talking about him, and that's what WWE will definitely be wanting. So he's getting it.
Very, very much so. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Just got a notification, guys. A bit more roasting of Top Dollar. They're doing a Royal Rumble qualifying match next week. Ricochet and Top Dollar for a Royal Rumble qualifying spot. So an interesting way to capitalize. And credit to WWE for not, for still keeping Top Dollar on television. Obviously, they've got a lot of investment in him. Also, for making light of it as well. They've made it into something. They've turned it into something. Obviously, the Royal Rumble coming up. So, fair enough. We also got confirmation that Gunther and Gunther will defend the Intercontinental Championship in 2 weeks on SmackDown, and Drew McIntyre and Sheamus will challenge for the Tag Team Championships either next week or the week after. So some cracking matches and a great time to be watching SmackDown right here on the Give Me a Whole Yeah podcast. I love this, as we're now getting John Cena coming out. We noticed as well the Bloodline are not out yet. I'd thought the Bloodline would have been out first, but no. John Cena is there. There he is. Look at the kids. Oh man, that's lovely.
A fired up John Cena.
There he is. Look, having a great time. Love it. So we'll just make sure the banner's up, and we'll make sure that the vote is there. This SmackDown has flown by, and that's testament to Andy's takes, to the comments and stuff. Man, John Cena saying, "I love you" to the camera, saying, "Thank you very much for allowing me to do this for 20 years. Let's go to work." Very cool. Nice little spot there. John Cena and Kevin Owens. In his jorts. What we got? John Cena.
Long hair.
Zayn.
Long hair.
What's that?
Cena's hairstyle's a choice.
Yeah.
Very much thinning on top, like myself.
All right, aren't we all, mate? Aren't we all? Don't worry. Right, so we got. They're getting a hug there. John Cena and Kevin Owens hugging. John Cena and Kevin Owens versus Zayn. Okay, sorry, I got there eventually. I was just trying to do the banner. I'm like, what are we doing? Whose match is it? What are we on? It's 2:39 a.m., guys. I'm knackered. But I appreciate you holding on with us. If you are just joining us, we appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for your time and energy. We know you could be at other places right now, so thank you for joining us. Please do consider liking the video and subscribing if you would like. There is no pressure, of course. Bloodline now coming out. So I would say we've got at least 20 minutes now for the Bloodline's entrance. So,
yeah, we might get a 5-minute match.
5-minute match, yeah. So, yeah, guys. Excuse me. So what we'll do, just to recap, for those that are in with us now, I would like you to start thinking about your grade of the night. I would like you to start thinking about your match of the night. And I would like you to start thinking of your performer of the night. And we will, at the end of this match, we will go back through those. So please do put those in the comments so we can talk about them at the end. Andy, of course, I will ask you for the same, but you will be able to talk about your reasons for doing that at the end. So like I say, we'll recap as best we can. We are going to focus on this match. It's a big deal. John Cena has returned for the first time this year to a wrestling ring. Of course, Sami Zayn teaming with Roman Reigns, I believe, for the first time as well. So we're going to try and focus as much as we can on the action on this match, but we will get to your comments as soon as possible. While we are waiting for people to come back, Dan has addressed Andy's comment. Priest is right in that today's audience is used to getting instant gratification. However, WWE has partly taught that themselves too. Look at Solo tonight getting the clean win over Sheamus. Interesting. I will do the banner for you. Oh, I've done the banner there. I'll do the vote for you guys. But a lot of it is just societal. How many people can't put their phones down? To be fair, I've been guilty of that as well. You watch successful YouTubers and the cuts are constant. Yeah, fair enough. Good point.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well with WWE in 2022, they're getting a hell of a lot of money from YouTube. And I don't think that helps the product, because you get people, and this is again a societal thing, as Dan said. It's people now is like, how can I consume information or whatever in the shortest amount of time possible? Now, WB kind of shoots himself in the foot because they're saying, don't watch SmackDown. We'll put all the highlights on YouTube about an hour afterwards anyway.
Yeah.
So they don't help themselves. And then they probably nowadays put it on TikTok and it'll be about 30 seconds long rather than, like a 5-minute clip. So I get where Dan's coming from.
Yeah, yeah. Right, okay. So I'll just do this poll. So who wins, guys? You've been pretty spot on with your votes for tonight. So let's see what you've got for this. So Cena and Owens, and then Zayn and Cena. Zayn and not Zayn and Cena. Zayn and Reigns. There we go. All right, guys, that poll is up. So please do get your comments, votes in. YouTube doesn't equal emotional connection neither. Yeah. Not for wrestling anyway. Yeah, I agree. There's no way they bring Cena back to lose a match. Yeah, I don't think so. OP, but feel free to vote. Feel free to pop your vote in. Once again, for those that don't know, I will ask you at the end to stick your for your viewpoint. I want to know what your match of the night is, what your performer of the night is, and what your grade for the whole event is. For me personally, just briefly, I've been most interested in the Bray Wyatt LA Knight stuff because of tonight, because I'm interested in the Uncle Howdy dynamic. We also have, I'm a little skeptical about the Mountain Dew sponsored Pitch Black match. The Mountain Dew logo takes a lot from the spookiness, I think, of this one on the whole. Overall, I mean, obviously we had Charlotte's return tonight. That was huge as well. I mean, some wonderful moments on SmackDown on the final SmackDown of the year, Andy. I know you've not done many of these live streams. How have you found sort of watching it in this fact, talking to people, responding to comments, but also calling the action? How have you found sort of your enjoyment of wrestling? It's a different vibe, isn't it, doing it this way?
Yeah, I like the social aspect. I like kind of having other voices around because the only really time I get this is when you watch it and then you look on Twitter. But then Twitter is such a dark rabbit hole to kind of put yourself through because a lot of it's negative and you kind of have to take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. And I think the positive comments get lost. Personally, from my point of view, I like to try and take positivity out of everything if I can do. Some things it's just impossible. You can't like every aspect of something. It's just, I challenge anyone to do that. But if you can pull a positive out of it, then amazing. But it's really interesting to hear people's voices, whether it's kind of fans or bookers or, promotion, people who run promotions. That's amazing. And everyone speaks sense. Like I like hearing other people's opinions, whether I agree with them or not.
Yeah. No, we're very lucky. We're very, very lucky to have the community that we do, and to again, all of your support over the last few months and years has been incredible. Obviously, to get us monetized, to have memberships and things, it's a wonderful privilege, and it's not lost on us. We are all just fans. Obviously, I'm very lucky to have some privilege to work at least in some form in wrestling media. But we are on this channel, in this space, we are all fans, just sharing opinions. So it's just we happen to have webcams and microphones. But honestly, we couldn't do it without you, and there'd be very little point to staying up till 3 a.m. and plus. To do this if you guys weren't here. So thank you so much for your time. I mean, I'm debating whether I stay up, whether I start at 6:30 a.m. next Wednesday for New Japan. So that's dedication right there. We'll have to see. We'll have to see whether I decide to do that or not. I think I'm going to try and make sure I can do it later on in the week. But that as far as I'm aware, Dan will be doing Monday Night Raw next week. I will, of course, be on the Insiders Wrestling podcast on Monday, discussing the latest Bray Wyatt news, as they do over there on their Abby's Window show. Then we are here on Wednesday for AEW Dynamite with Anthony. And then I will be here, like I say, I'll be here on SmackDown for sure next week. But New Japan, that New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 17 is currently scheduled for 6:30 a.m. UK time. Whether that changes or not, but I'll be covering New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 17 next week in some form as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lock horns. Once again, I know there's some comments from Dan and a few other people. We will get to those as soon as we get a nice leapfrog by Sami. Clothesline, Sami looking focused. There's Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns super proud of Sami. There's John Cena there. Oh, Kevin Owens went for the stunner. Owens and Sami. Oh, nice back elbow. Sent on by Owens.
It's a difficult one because it's not very often that you get to see John Cena in a ring, so you kind of want to watch it. But equally, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, like we've seen it so many times before. I would watch the hell out of it so many more times as well.
Yeah. Kevin Owens saying that Sami's embarrassing himself.
Roman looking bored, waiting for their tag.
Sami chants. Roman you could see him getting a little annoyed there, showing those seeds.
What was that? Is Sami Zayn's nose bleeding?
Oh, Roman wants to tag in. Yeah, maybe. Kevin Owens trying to psych out Sami, saying you're a good little dog. Here he comes. Here comes Roman Reigns. Cena chants now as well. Oh man. Kevin Owens looking at the camera. Is he gonna do the tag? No. Is Kevin Owens gonna give him the tag, or is he not? Some dissension.
This is where this dynamic of the tag team is an interesting one.
Yeah,
obviously, Kevin Owens and John Cena have history, and they both want a bit of.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna give him the tag.
No.
Oh, Roman Reigns attacking Kevin from behind.
Oh, that was a stiff clothesline, by the way.
Stiff clothesline, it was. Roman Reigns out choking Kevin Owens. Once again, guys, thank you very much for your comments. We will get to those at the end of this. Uranagi by Roman on Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens with a kick out there.
Is it just me, or are the Bloodline using the Uranagi a lot more since the Rock rumors?
Yes, they are. I mean, I don't know if it's tied in, but it was a clever little moment if they are. Clever little moment if they are.
So we're on a break at the moment, commercial break.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's try and get some of these while we're on the break. We might as well. Okay, so let's have a look. Remember, Sassy reminding everybody, remember to comment on the match of the night before, my moment of the night, and overall show, 1 out of 10. Imagine if EastEnders did a YouTube, TikTok, quick highlight version of certain points. Yeah, it wouldn't really work the same, would it? Do you think trying to take the positive out of everything is part of the reason why wrestling journalism, MMA journalism is largely such dog S word? What? So, I mean, that's a really interesting point, Dan. So you're saying that because there's a lack of positivity. I mean, obviously, this is just me paraphrasing, of course. I'm not claiming that you're definitely saying this, but basically, the lack of positivity in wrestling journalism and MMA journalism is a problem. From what I've read, that's what I've taken from that. I'm mates with Brian Elliott. I don't know who Brian is, but I will do some research after this stream, and we both talk about how hard we cringe at some of those press conferences and coverage of UFC TV and wrestling, largely because so many of them are not real journalists, so they don't hold UFC, WWE, AEW to task at all because they're so happy to be there talking to their heroes. Interesting point. That is interesting. Maybe. Yeah. Do you think trying to take the positivity out of everything? Let's just go back to this one. You trying to take the positivity out of everything is part of the reason why wrestling journalism is largely such. You mean, is it because you think things are too sorry, if I misinterpreted that, you think things are too positive and it's too shiny and happy, or it's not shiny and happy enough, or you mean that people aren't held accountable enough? Wrestlers, bookers, etc., aren't held accountable enough by journalists. I don't know, Andy. I'm not sure whether it's the time of day or time of night, but I don't know if I'm misreading that. I'm sure Dan will correct me. But what have you taken from that comment there?
Yeah, I think it's probably a discussion in itself rather than a sort of watch along thing. But I think some great points there, because I personally get frustrated, and I don't know if you would agree, as someone who I don't even like the term of wrestling journalist, because I think a lot of people trash WWE and they'll trash AEW on the dirt sheets, and then they get invited to a press conference and then they're very positive in there, and that they wouldn't dare say most of the stuff they say in their articles. So it's interesting that they're allowed in general, because sometimes I think it oversteps the mark. But generally, I think it's very negative, and it's always kind of picking up on, well, maybe that's kind of changed in the last few months or so since Vince has kind of stepped away. But there seemed to be a very kind of like, it's cool to bash WWE. But then those same people would be, crawling up, where, when they're in certain situations, press conferences, and get that access. So I think the other issue is companies are quite selective as to who is invited to certain press conferences and certain access, because they know that they'll kind of toe the line that they want.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. So it's kind of managed in that way, kind of cultivated in that way. Yeah.
But I went to the Undertaker one-man show in Nashville, and there was questions asked, but there was a WWE guy at the side, because that was actually not, if you remember, SummerSlam happened. That was when that one-man show was, a few weeks after Vince had left. There was someone at the side who was vetting questions, and a lot of the people, because I could overhear, wanted to ask Undertaker about, what does he think about what's happened with Vince? WWE doesn't let that happen. Not on their watch, sort of thing. So they are very clever, and they'll kind of be selective as to how they let people ask questions, etc. So even in that kind of circumstance.
Yeah, interesting, Dan. Well, that's a wider conversation we'll try and come back to as we come back to this. Now, Kevin Owens still not been able to tag John Cena. Sami Zayn down. Kevin Owens down. Roman Reigns now dragging Sami Zayn into the corner there, and a tag from Roman to Sami.
Jessica Carr, the referee, has been very lenient in this match so far, with letting Roman kind of do what he wants.
Absolutely. Roman Reigns now queuing up for the spear. The Usos now signaling for the ones. And then, Superman punch counter. Lovely super kick by Kevin Owens. Going to see a beautiful frog splash now, potentially, from Kevin Owens. Big splash. 1, 2. Kick out.
So I think Sami's nose has been cut or busted open.
Potentially.
Jessica Carr's got the black gloves on.
Nice. Oh, we're going for a pop-up powerbomb. Was Kevin Owens there? It's a Superman punch. Superman punch. Going for the spear, but Kevin Owens ducking out the way into the pole there.
There's another question. Has Kevin Owens hurt his eye? I think he might have a cut eye as well.
Potentially there.
We're in hot tag territory of the match here.
Yeah, we are.
Both sides crawling to their corners.
Okay. There we go. John Cena coming in, shoulder block. Another shoulder block by Cena. All right, we're going to get the 5 knuckle shuffle Classic Cena.
Or as Cole would say, vintage
Nice.
Cena.
Vintage Cena, yeah. I've seen Superman punch missed by Roman Reigns. Oh, they're all selling for John.
Double shuffle.
They're all selling for John. Wait, Kevin, are they going to do it together? Are they going to hit the 5-knuckle shuffle? No way. Amazing. 5-knuckle shuffle. There's the FU. FU to Roman Reigns. But Roman Reigns rolling out. Looks like Sami might be taking this loss, Andy. There's the stunner. 1, 2, 3. So Cena put in about 2 minutes worth of work there. But a great little moment for the fans, of course. This match needs more time. We are 2 minutes away from the allotted time, I believe.
Ooh,
Roman Reigns rolled out. Go on. Sorry, mate.
That's a very badly busted open eye for Kevin Owens. His left eye is bleeding quite bad.
Maybe there's a reason then it hasn't gone as long. John Cena and Kevin Owens hugging in the ring. Lots of questions from Cole. Where does Sami stand in the bloodline? What does this mean for the future? Happy New Year, everybody. To the end, it's the last Smackdown of 2022, and we're over. We're done. So we'll try and get through some of those comments. Interesting one from Dan. You can't be a fan and a journalist. That's an interesting one. I think you can. I think you just have to be. Make sure your values and your ethics are intact. I've turned down interviews, as you know. Dan knows this. I've turned down interviews with people like Alberto Del Rio before. I wasn't going to do that. I've turned down more than that I haven't talked about on the podcast because it didn't fit with my values. I took the WWE stuff because it is a goal of mine to continue to work with WWE. I did enjoy that. I am a fan of WWE, but my questions, as Dan will know and other people will know from my interviews, they're not generic wrestling questions. They're about lifestyle. They're about. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that I tend to ask about lifestyle stuff. Because of my background, I tend to ask about things like mental health and music, of course, as well. So I'm less tied to the sort of stereotypical wrestling questions for me personally. And I know from what I know of Andy, because of his music theme of the site and the work he does, they're not cliche wrestling questions. And of course, you do a lot of feature work and things like that. So there's a lot of really credible work over on Rush on Rock as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that we are standard wrestling journalists. But I know you weren't talking about us, Dan, but that's a big question, isn't it? I mean, you can't be a fan and a journalist. I don't know. I think Alistair McGeorge does a great job on Metro. I think he's a fantastic journalist. He's a good friend of mine. And I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of mine. I was an admirer of his work. I've been an admirer of his work for a long time. I mean, Alice is my
sports and entertainment are very different to normal journalism jobs because it's not exactly like if you're a Financial Times journalist that you're a fan of stocks and shares, but you'd have to have some level of interest. But if you look at the likes of George Culkin, who's a football writer in the Northeast for The Athletic, he is a football fan. So you'd have to have some level of interest. Sports in general, if you look at MMA, if you look at boxing, if you look at pretty much any sport there is going, the person would only be a writer because they have a vested interest in it. And that normally starts out as being a fan. Now, what separates a good journalist from a fan who knows how to write is the questions that they ask, the stories that they tell from that. So I would disagree that you can't be a fan and a journalist because I think you have to be, especially in this industry. But I think the best journalists are the ones who can remain impartial and ask the right questions and tell the right stories.
Very succinct answer, Andy. Thank you very much for that. If you're a fan, you have bias. But it's about keeping that bias in check. It's the same, it's the same if you work in any industry. Counseling's the same. You have to keep any preconceptions in check. You have to make sure that you are supervised, and obviously if you work for a paper, you work for a platform, you usually have someone to check your facts with, to do your sub editing with and things like that. So you have to make sure you're held accountable in professional settings. A lot of blogs obviously aren't necessarily, and I appreciate that, but certainly the more professional the setting, the more you're held accountable and your bias is kept in check, at least to my understanding and experience. Right, okay, so Sassy's given match, Sheamus and solo performer, solo moment, Uncle Howdy, period, rating 5. Well, we're going out of 10. 5 out of 10. Wow, okay, so not great from you, Sassy. I'm used to slightly higher ratings. Spot on, Sassy, on all that. So 5, okay, so middle of the road. Middle of the road for you guys on this. Todd approval always makes me happy. Sorry, did I say out of 5 or did I say out of 10? Did I say out of 5? I did say out of 5, didn't I? So, okay, I may have said out of 10 at first. I'm tired. Let's go out of 5. Let's say out of 5. So are you still keeping that 5 top grade then if it's out of 5? Sassy and Todd, because you are the only people that have given it right now. But let's you go out of 5. Obviously, Andy, you are the focal point tonight once again, guys. While we have you, Andy is from Rush on Rock, a fantastic music website that also does fantastic wrestling content, features, interviews, and the such. I will do one more plug by putting Rush on Rock in the comments for you. Make sure you go and check out Rush on Rock and support them. Follow them on Twitter, on everything else, Facebook, etc. Obviously, the website I will post for you now. All the social media stuff will be on there. Andy will tell you his Twitter account at the very end of this when we do the press and plugging bit. But yeah, Andy, great. We'll go out of 5. Hang on. I'm just going to see if I get some clarification on the 5. No, let's go out of 5. I'm pretty sure I always do it out of 10, but I'm tired and it's time to go to bed. But let's do it out of 5. What grade would you give that out of 5, Andy?
Out of 5, I'll probably say 4. I actually really enjoyed it. I would say 4 because I think if you look at the kind of what they've covered tonight, you've got the Bray LA Knight feud is kind of like given another layer to that. There's a match announced on the back of it. There was a very good women's match in there. There was a return. There's a title change. There was, yes, it wasn't a very long match, but I don't think anyone really expected Cena and the Owens match to go too long. When it started at 22, the entrance just started at 22. It's not going to be too long. It served its purpose. You got the Intercontinental title. There was some backstage stuff with a few of the tag teams. The Usos got involved. There's a tag team match set up. There's Drew coming back. There's a lot that happened in that, and a lot of it was fun. And it kind of flew by. I enjoy episodes like that. I think they kind of push things forward pretty much across the board there.
Yeah, there was a couple of nice little progressors tonight. The Sami Zayn, Bloodline stuff, the Uncle Howdy, LA Knight stuff. Lots of interesting stuff to think about, of course. Ronda, Charlotte Flair, and I imagine Ronda Rousey now having a rematch at the Rumble. So some stuff there. So I've asked you about your grade then, putting you under even more pressure. Performer of the night for you, Andy?
I'm going to go with Ronda.
Okay, interesting, yeah.
I mean in the first match, not the second one. The Ronda in the match with Raquel, I would say that is the best, the kind of most slick I've seen her look in the ring. There was little bits where she I think she went from a submission and then they kind of stood up and then she ended up doing some sort of like hip toss into a cover while she was leaning on her elbow, kind of pretending to, like pose while pinning her, which I thought was actually really cool. I haven't seen her do that kind of stuff. So that cocky heel smooth set was more prevalent tonight, which I think suits her very well.
Yeah, interesting point, because we've never had Ronda Rousey as a stand-up performer. I don't think anybody's ever put Ronda in there. So yeah, and
I feel dirty for saying it, by the way.
No. Like I say, great, great. And Raquel was very impressive for me. I'm going to say Raquel for mine. I think Raquel was great, and it's for a grade for me. 3 out of 5. for me as on the whole, because it was good. There was, like I say, maybe that main event could have gone longer, but like you said, I don't think John Cena was ever going to be in the ring for a half an hour, banger at this point in his career, But some lovely moments to pop the crowd. Match of the night then.
Yeah, again, I think I'm gonna have to stick with the women's championship match between Raquel and Ronda. It sounds like maybe it's because I had such low expectations going in that it kind of like jumped way above it, but I was very impressed with it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, and I agree with you. I think Charlotte and Raquel was fantastic. Once again, guys, we'll stay on for a few more minutes. If you want to get your match of the night, performer of the night, grade of the night in, we'll answer this question from Dan as well. I think if you're doing articles on wrestling personalities, that's one thing because you're not presenting yourself as experts. Yeah, if you want to talk business, there's no room for fandom. I see your point. But I do think it needs to start. I think if you're going to be credible, you need to know what you're talking about. So there is a balance there, and I think that comes down to your editorial staff, comes down to your supervisor. Obviously, I'm talking from like a counselling and a journalistic perspective. You need to check your decisions and things like that to make sure they remain ethical and obviously, from a journalistic standpoint, same thing. You don't want to be writing stuff that is going to cause somebody, going to be defamatory, to anybody. So I think being a fan is the groundwork of any of an entertainment journalist. But I think you've got to make sure you check your bias and your unconscious bias, but it's about being aware of that. And the older you get, the better you get at that. I would argue the more experience you have. Obviously, unconscious bias is there, and I'm sure everybody in this chat room and space has had that at some point, but it's about keeping that in check, I would say. You watch way more WWE than I do. I rarely watch it, but am I right about Ronda's losses or having something dodgy attached to it? I think sometimes there's botches, sometimes they're a bit messy, I would say. I don't know if you have any. You can have knowledge and not be a fan. No, absolutely. No, I don't disagree with you there. I think you need to learn how to turn the fandom off and keep it off while you're involved in covering the business. I can see that point as well. Andy, I don't know. Sorry, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, we are just gonna stay on and answer these questions. If you've got any more, do put them in. We'll stay on for 5 more minutes. Andy, your thoughts on some of these comments about let's go up to this one here. Your thoughts on that.
Maybe we're not the best placed because I think the kind of writers and journalists that we try and hold ourselves to be, we're very much in the kind of first sentence of we prefer the kind of personalities and getting to know the people behind it. Whereas maybe your Dave Meltzers and to an extent Sean Ross Sapp and that who make a living out of this. And they're kind of like coming at it from a point of view of like the behind the scenes stuff. Do they join like business calls? Because if you join business calls and it's talking about stocks and shares, you don't need to be a fan. Would hold my hands up. I agree on that. I think the business side of things, it gets very messy because you're always trying to interpret it the way that suits your maybe agenda is maybe a bit too strong, but your kind of viewpoints. What we do, and the likes of maybe Kenny McIntosh, etc., and Alistair McGeorge is, I think all of us are more of, and maybe it's a UK thing because it's not as much of a business across here. We're very much a case of like we want others to know the people that get inside that ring, and I don't think it doesn't. What we do doesn't matter if you're a fan. If anything, it helps if you're a fan because you are more likely to put your heart and soul into it. You put more research into it. You would kind of do that side of things. But when it comes to business, it comes to financials and etc., then yes, maybe you don't need to be a fan, and maybe it does help you just to kind of very much look at it. But yeah, I say I don't think. I think you have to be a fan to be a writer about this.
I think because from a groundwork, from the ground up, I think the basis, I think it helps at least have the fandom there. And thank you for your thoughts throughout this sort of stream, Andy. And of course, Dan, for your comments. Joseph just came in. John Cena team wins. Yeah, they did in convincing fashion, as Sassy has said. Joseph, thank you and welcome to the stream. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's been a very good one. We've really enjoyed it. If you can like the video, if you haven't yet, it would really help us out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do. We're a small channel. We're growing. There are membership opportunities if you choose to donate. It is not essential, but we appreciate the support. Once again, Andy from Russian Rock has joined me as a guest tonight. We're 2 hours 19 in, Andy. Are you tired? How are you feeling? This is something we do like 3 nights a week now. Our long-suffering partners are very understanding. Obviously, the chat will know my colleagues Anthony and Dan, and more recently Sam as well. How have you found it, mate?
Good. The eyes are a little bit heavy, but I think there's good discussions. It's always good to get someone who can keep you on your toes a little bit, like Dan has tonight, and asking some or put some kind of not controversial, but as good kind of debate subjects and topics in there. I think it's always good to have that discussion. Probably would be better to have it as like an actual like kind of discussion piece between a few people in the industry and what they think on it, because I'd love to hear what Kenny thinks, and I'd love to hear what he escapes me. He's with the Mail now. He used to be on TalkSport. There's people like that who I think are quite highly regarded. I'd love to hear their opinion on that specific subject. But it's been great. I've really enjoyed being on it. I think it's always good when there's a good show on. I'm not sure I would have lasted a 3-hour Raw or not.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I got a lot of respect and a lot of respect for Dan, who covers our Monday nights. But yeah, no, man, thank you again for your. It really helps me. I was talking to Andy off camera before we started this. Obviously, as you guys know, I've done many of these on my own, and it's great. But when you've got people, Andy and I have talked about collaborating for a couple of months and obviously hanging out again. So it's a way to do that for me. It's a way to catch up, talk about wrestling, talk about stuff we love, and also catch up, because it is lovely to see you again, mate. Obviously, I connected with you quite heavily on the Clash of the Castle. I was very grateful for your time and energy then, and I am now. Thank you for your contributions as well. I appreciate you making the time for me.
No, I'm appreciate you having me on. It's been absolutely amazing. I would 100% agree with that. I'm not sure. I really don't like the 3-hour Raw, but yeah, hats off to anyone who can sit through and still be cohesive enough to talk about everything that's going on. While plugging and making sure people know where's what, putting polls on. I could probably sit through the 3 hours while sort of dozing on and off. But it's been great. It's been great catching up with you. I'm sure this won't be the last time we collaborate on something.
Absolutely, man. We'll have you back anytime for sure. Once again, guys, check out Rush on Rock. I'll put in. I've done it many times, and I will continue to do it tonight. If you want to squeeze in a quick look at the website, you can support Rush on Rock by going to rushanrock.com. There is also Rush on Rock on Twitter. I will put on Andy's Twitter. There we go. We'll give you your own Twitter a plug. So please go and follow Andy and support what he does. He's a hardworking dude. Once again, it was a pleasure to bond with him at Clash, but fundamentally a talented guy with a great work ethic. I know I'm talking about you like you're not here, but you know what I mean. a lot of respect, and I feel lucky to know you. So definitely, please, if our community can support Rush on Rock, then that's what this is about. This is what this is for. So please, if you're on Twitter, whatever platforms you're on, please go and support Andy and Rush on Rock. And that's the plug-in done. Guys, once again, there will be a Monday Night Raw with Dan next week. There will be, in some form, a New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 17 stream. I haven't decided. It's currently scheduled for 6:30 a.m. in UK time. But given that most of you, I would say 90% of you, are based in the US, and also Sam and Dan both have a desire to watch Wrestle Kingdom 17, we may do it later in the day before Anthony covers Dynamite on the Wednesday. So let's see what happens there. And then I will be back possibly with Sam on Smackdown, and of course Andy is welcome back anytime. So let's hope Andy can come back at some time, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up and support each other and continue to do so as we head into 2023. On that note, guys, Happy New Year! Thank you for supporting the channel this year. We've done so much, become monetized, grown our audience around the world. It's been beyond what I could have possibly imagined. And it's thanks to people like yourself and people, commenting, answering the polls, and people like Dan with great platforms for supporting us. And of course, to Andy for wanting to give up his time to guest at 3 a.m. and beyond and talk. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Andy, for your time. And guys, we'll see you next week. We'll see you in the new year. All right. Now, this is super cheesy, Andy, so I do apologize. But what we do at the end of every Give Me a Whole Yeah stream is we count down from 5 to give me time to figure out what outro we're going to do. And then we do some jazz hands and we say, whole yeah. Okay. So we do the countdown like a claymore and then do whole yeah. And then we do that while I figure out what the outro is going to be. And so does that sound all right to you?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Fantastic.
Flourish.
All right. Okay. Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you later. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is Big E from the new day. Give me that whole yeah. Give it to me. I need it.